The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about how to leverage project management in the legal field. And I'm going to be introducing myself. My name is Deidre Emerson with Sensei Project Solutions. And I'm going to be handing it over here shortly to Mark Lassiter with Lex Projects. So just to give a little insight into what Sensei Project Solutions are, a Microsoft partner that has deep expertise in project and portfolio management. We have been a finalist and partner of the year several of the last few years, with being partner of the year back in 2014, and we were just a finalist this past year in 2017. We've done, hundreds of project and project server deployments and trained over thousands of project managers and team members, and we are certified in the entire technology stack for project management.
So should I take over from here, Deidre? Are you good with that?
Yep, Mark Lassiter here with Lex Projects. Take it away.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Lassiter. Just a little bit about me. I'm an attorney of 35 years experience. I've been a trial lawyer for the last 35 years, focusing in business, real estate, construction, and technology law. About 40% of my practice is as a full-time neutral, including being an arbitrator for the American Arbitration Association on its commercial construction, large and complex case panels. I'm also a panelist for the International Center for Dispute Resolution and the National Academy of Distinguished Neutrals. I'm a fellow in the College of Commercial Arbitrators, and I'm also a mediator for the American Arbitration Association and the National Academy of Distinguished Neutrals. So most of my work is in dispute resolution of one kind or another. As a trial lawyer, I usually handle multi-million-dollar business, real estate, construction, and technology cases with a strong focus in commercial collections and trade secret, covenant not to compete, computer fraud and abuse type of actions. I'm also the immediate past chair of the Arizona State Bar's Technology Committee, and I founded its data security, privacy, cyber liability, e-discovery, and cloud computing and law practice management subcommittees. And even though I'm no longer the chair of the Technology Committee as a whole, I still serve on a number of those committees. So the thing that I'm going to talk to you about today is the use of Microsoft Project Online for legal project management. And what we're going to do here is we're going to cover a top-level introduction of Microsoft Project Online, talk about what it is and how it can be helpful to law firms, in-house legal departments, and legal vendors who want to track and monitor their cases and legal operations. I'm going to show you how to customize Project Online for use by your law firm or legal department for real-time reporting of the status of cases and legal projects using dashboards and key performance indicators. I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft Project templates to quickly be able to estimate cost, schedules, and resource availability, and then track and monitor those things in real time when and as you proceed through a case. And then how to get started really on the road to successful legal project management with these solutions. And then I'm going to focus primarily on the dashboard reports to report these kinds of things, because this is really getting to be a hot area right now in the practice of law. And I think you'll find this an interesting program. So I'm going to give you a little bit of theory here to begin with, and then we're going to move into the actual working environment, and I'm going to show you how this works in reality. So what is Microsoft Project Online? Well, perhaps some of you are familiar with what used to be called Project Server. So in the old network days, before everybody started moving to the cloud, you had what was called the client-server environment. And so typically you'd have a big closet or a room somewhere that would have stacks of hard drives or computer network stuff that would then be tied together by a bunch of spaghetti wire, Cat5, Cat6 cabling that would go throughout the office and connect into the client computers that were in the individual offices or cubicles or workspaces of the lawyers, the paralegals, the legal assistants, the law librarians, etc. Now, that latter spaghetti wire kind of networking is what's sometimes referred to as a client-server environment, and that's where you hosted the documents and things on your own platform there. Well, what happened is that when Microsoft began to roll out its Office 365 solutions to the cloud, it moved what used to be called Project Server into the cloud and made it available as an offering there. And that's what's called Project Online. And what's nice about the cloud solution is it's wireless. So you can actually track and monitor the status of your case using iPhones, iPads, portable computers, laptops, Surface type of platforms. And you can add your clients to the mix. So if you want to share with your clients in real time what it is that's going on with their cases and projects, you can do that. Now, don't worry, you don't have to share everything about the case with them, but you could give them specialized status so they could see certain activities or parts of your partitioned cloud-based environment without seeing other things. So for example, theoretically, if you were doing insurance defense work, you could let the claims adjuster see what was going on in terms of the activity of the case, but lock the claims adjuster out of being able to see attorney-client privilege documents or emails or things like that. So it kind of lets you be a gatekeeper, a guardian, as it were, of what's going on in the cases and matters. You could let an expert come in and see certain documents the expert needs to see without showing them compromising things for attorney work product or attorney-client privilege, etc. So the value of Project Online is it lets you kind of have this forum, almost like you have this big collaborative room in the cloud where you can ideate, plan, execute, and do the work. You can collaborate with other people. You can share documents. You can upload information, share insights and activities, and so forth. So this cloud-based collaboration environment is offered through Project Online. So let me tell you a little bit about my company. In addition to being a practicing lawyer with a significant trial practice and a mediator and an arbitrator, I have a company called Lex Projects, which I started about 6 years ago. And what we do is we transform legal process to enhance legal value. And the way that we really do that is we are engaged in what you might call legal systems engineering, legal process analysis, legal design thinking. And we put together pre-configured templates, and I'm going to show you what those look like. Because the biggest obstacle right now to trying to get legal project management implemented in any law firm or in-house legal environment is people don't know how to do it. So what we thought we would do is, well, what if we could jumpstart it and actually take certain types of common legal matters and build out the templates, not completely, but 70% complete, and then let people be able to take those templates and update them and modify them for particular types of cases, whether it's a commercial real estate transaction case or a commercial litigation matter in federal court or something like that. So we build templates, and the primary reason we do this is because of the strong push nowadays for alternative fee arrangements and value-based billing. And unless you have the ability to really track and monitor carefully the scope of your work, who's doing it, what it's going to cost, etc., you're just making a crazy guess when you do an alternative fee arrangement. But it doesn't have to be that way if you're able to implement some of the things I'm going to show you today. And in fact, I'm going to show you how to do a project plan that is over budget, and then say, okay, well, what do we got to do to tweak it and bring it in at the level that the client wants? So how do Microsoft, Sensei, and Lex Projects all relate together? Well, at the base of the pyramid upon which everything else rests is Microsoft Project Online. It's offered through Microsoft Office 365. Some of you have already migrated to 365. You may not know it, but just like you can download an E3 platform that gives you access to Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. in the cloud, for another $5 to $7 a month, you can add Microsoft Project End User type of an environment, or for about $65 a month, you can let your project managers have access to what we're doing. I'm actually going to show you both of those, what an end user worker bee like a paralegal or an associate lawyer would see in this environment, and then I'm also going to show you what a project manager would look like as well. Sensei Project Solutions is a value-added reseller, and they are one of the top Microsoft partners in the world. And what they do is they take the out-of-the-box vanilla thing and they upgrade it. You know, so think of going to the Ford dealership and buying a white, basic Ford SUV, okay? What Sensei Project Solutions is to the Microsoft Project Online thing is what an aftermarket company is to buying the basic vanilla white SUV. So if you want to get racks, you want to get trailer hitches, you want to get upgrades to the interior, you want to get a paint job, that's what a value-added reseller does in the automobile industry, and that's what Sensei Project Solutions does in an aftermarket environment, you might say, to Project Online. Now, what Lex Projects does is we build on top of that. What we build are the actual templates for the legal projects themselves. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about what a template is in a minute. But why bother with legal project management at all? Increasingly, clients are fed up with the billable hour. You may have seen in August, in fact, just last month, Microsoft announced that 90% of all of its legal work that it refers to outside counsel from now on will be for non-hourly billing-based projects. In other words, they want value-based billing based on alternative fee arrangements. And Microsoft is just the tip of the spear. Most other corporate companies like the Fortune 1000 companies have been moving in that direction since the Great Recession started in 2008. Legal project management makes alternative fee arrangement implementation predictable and profitable for law firms and in-house legal departments. And you can't really track or monitor what you're going to charge or what it's going to cost if you don't have project management capabilities in-house. So this is why we're seeing the move to legal project management. Now, some of you may have had some training in legal project management from like Susan Lamberth's Law Vision or Aileen Levinson or Jim Hassett or any of the other usual suspects that teach legal project management. I'm not really a teacher in that regard because I'm a legal technologist, but I have benefited from a lot of their legal project management courses, and they kind of are in the LPM community with me and others. But here's a basic legal project management life cycle and what it looks like. And the important thing here is what's on the left side of this life cycle is what we're going to focus on today. And I'm going to come back to it and explain why in a minute. But the key thing to realize here is that project management, you could theoretically use Microsoft Project and just put it right into a single user computer sitting on a paralegal's desk somewhere who's going to be your quote-unquote legal project manager. But what I'm showing you is not the simple level. What I'm showing you is what happens when you migrate away from that simple thing and you move towards what's known as enterprise project and portfolio management. And this is the ability to track and monitor what is going on in every single legal matter in your entire international or national organization. So using the technology I'm going to show you, it's actually possible for a managing partner of an international law firm sitting in London to zoom down and say, gee, I've heard that the intellectual property litigation department in our Los Angeles office is having problems. Why don't we pull up all of the litigation matters from the IP department in our Los Angeles office and see how it's tracking on the dashboards? And that's literally possible for that managing partner to do 24/7, 365 days of the year. And that's what I want you to focus on because this is where everything is really moving. Two things we're going to eliminate with legal project management to the extent possible. We're going to eliminate unnecessary meetings where people get together and say, did you file the motion for summary judgment last week that we talked about? You don't need to have a meeting to figure that out when everything on your dashboard is real time. Second of all, you don't need to send a bunch of emails asking the same question if you're able to determine that from your online platform. So what's an enterprise project template? Well, basically, you can write common things. So think for a minute just about the things you have to do if you're going to onboard a new employee, for example, into your company. Well, you know, you've got to have them fill out all the paperwork, you know, for immigration, naturalization type of things. You've got to have them fill out their W-2 forms. You've got to have them fill out the acknowledgement and receipt of the human resources policies, your mandatory arbitration clause, if any, your policies and procedures manual for employees, etc. So if you make a list of all those things and then you assign a template that puts those common items into it, you can actually just create a template every time you onboard a new employee, and then it will track and monitor whether you did those things so nothing falls through the cracks. Now, imagine what it would be like to create a legal template for, say, a mergers and acquisitions matter, a commercial real estate acquisition matter, etc. Those are a lot more complex. But by doing them in advance, you can eliminate having to reinvent the wheel every time these things come in, and it makes you be able to mobilize your projects much quicker. So every project manager is concerned with these things. They're concerned with the scope, the schedule, the cost, the quality, the risks and issues, and the resources of a matter. And so scope, schedule, cost, quality, risks and issues, and resources are present in every single type of situation. And you've got to balance those things, which are often competing against one another. You have to align those things with the objectives of the client in order to make legal project management work. And when you create a template, what you really focus on are the four things right here: determining tasks, scheduling them, resourcing them appropriately, and then estimating cost. And those items right there in that red box are the things that can be subject to a template, like I'm going to show you in a minute. Then you go on to build the baseline schedule. Now, there's a lot of work that goes into building these baseline schedules, but when you're doing the template, you only have to worry about the 6 things that are shown right here. The other items that I crossed out there get customized depending on the actual cases or matters that come in. And when you prepare your templates, you're going to use what's called generic resources, as I'm going to show you in a minute here. You can also, if you want to, create workflows and so forth. That's beyond the scope of our presentation. But where you ultimately want to get to is the ability to track and monitor your cases using dashboards in real time, so that every interested stakeholder, whether they're a client or general counsel or deputy general counsel or insurance claims adjuster, can all see the appropriate level of confidence information that they can see in the file to see what's going on. So having said that, we're going to move right now into the demonstrations of what's going on. And I want to start off really with showing you a couple of things here. The first thing that I want to show you is what an end user sees when you go into the environment. So here is, I'm actually going to have to move. Well, let's see. Okay, so right here, you can see Alexis Projects. Now, Alexis, in my hypothetical, is my paralegal. So when we are doing a hypothetical incorporation of a subsidiary company, as you'll see in a minute, Alexis is my paralegal. So this is what she's going to be seeing. Furthermore, we're in Office 365, you can notice right here. So if she wants to, she can click here to go to Outlook and check her email. She can go here to create a new Word document, etc. Where I'm going to go right now is into the project environment, and this is just the add-on to 365 that we can see here. And I'm going to go down to the corner here and go to what's called the project web app, and then I'm going to go to tasks. Now, what I want to show you here is that there are no tasks, and that's on purpose. I did that on purpose because when I create and actually publish and push out the activities of a new project, you're going to see this populate in real time with the new tasks and assignments that are being delegated to Alexis. So we're going to pretend like Alexis is a brand new employee today. She's never worked for us, and she's about to get her first work assignments, and we're going to send them to her automatically through the Microsoft Project Online environment. The second thing that I want to show you is my Lex Projects account. Now this is non-confidential stuff here. This is my Lex Projects mailbox you can see here. So if you look over on the left here, you can see Mark Lassiter and Lex Projects. And this is relevant because do you see this email right here? This email is actually one of several that I'm probably going to develop and send today. It's automatically generated. So when I, as an attorney, for example, get new legal work, I get an automatically generated email that's going to come to me and show me what that work is. So we're going to come back to that here in a little bit, but I wanted you to understand this because notice that as of 9:37, there's not any new or different information. And then the last thing I want to show you here before we get started is my actual Samsung's mobile device. So what you're looking at right now is my Samsung Galaxy 8 device. This is literally what you would see if you were holding my mobile phone. What I'm going to do right here just to illustrate something is, do you see this icon right here called the Time Reporter, that little purple icon right there? Watch what happens now when I click that icon. It's a Sensei Project Online application on my mobile phone, and it's tied to my new employee, Alexis Projects. And notice, Alexis has no tasks assigned to her right now. And when I populate this later on, what you're going to notice is just like what's behind us here on the screen here. When this on the back screen populates with tasks and activities, Alexis will be able to see those tasks and activities from her phone, and she'll be able to update the data and information in real time when and as she performs it. She can do it either from her web app, or she can do it from her web app on her computer, or she can do it on her phone. And whenever she makes those changes, it's going to update the information on the project dashboard shown here in real time. So it's going to cause the activities on these different cases to update in real time. Now, the last thing I'll show you here real quick is you can notice over here that that's me, okay? So I'm, in this hypothetical, I'm both a lawyer on this file, but I'm also a project manager on this file. And because I am a project manager, you're able to actually see the various projects and their status on the dashboard. Now, I can share this dashboard view with anybody. I can share it with the executives of the company. I can share it with outside counsel. I can share it with the client. I can share it with the experts or insurance adjusters, and I can assign different levels of security to each of them, as I've already mentioned. So let's go through a couple of things here and just observe them. First of all, here's the list of the cases. And you can have cases that are in different phases. The only phases I have here really are the execute and monitor. But if I was in the development stage and I was trying to cost out, what's it going to cost to do an M&A transaction, I could assign a different phase. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit here. Next, notice over here the key performance indicators that are available. Now, there's 4 of the KPIs that we've set up here. One is the project KPI, and that is a manual KPI indicator, okay? And that particular mandatory KPI indicator right here is what the project manager can manually assign to say, gee, I don't really care what the automatically generated KPIs to the right of this do. I don't have a good feeling about this. Or notwithstanding that we have some red indicators there, this thing's really healthier than it seems because we tripwired a couple of those things with a minuscule extra day over, but it's a 300-day schedule. So technically we tripped the red, but it's not really that bad. But the rest of these KPIs that you see here along the top, the schedule, the work, the cost KPIs, these are all automatically generated from people like Alexis, who, when they finish the work, are able to update it either using their mobile phone or something like that, and that feeds up into the KPIs and automatically populates them. Now, one thing I want to show you here in particular is this particular one right here. Do you see those white circles? Why are those white? Well, they're white because if you look over to the left here for this particular Florida project, This particular project right here is what we're going to work on today for our hypothetical. And when I do a few things to this folder or file, it's going to turn these things into green lights or whatever as we do that. So let's do that right now. We're going to go ahead and open the Florida subsidiary. And let me tell you a little bit about what this is. In our hypothetical, our outside law firm has been hired by a healthcare company that is going to expand and is going to put urgent care centers in different locations in different states. And what they want to do is form a separate subsidiary corporation for each of the urgent care facilities that they're going to open up in the different states. So if you look at the top up here, you can see that this is the Florida urgent care facility up there. So that's what we're working on right now. And let's just talk a little bit about it and see what that looks like. So first of all, notice this. We have a project summary task, and we have not yet set the start date for this project, but we have temporarily estimated the cost of this project based upon the scope of work built into the template to cost about $4,324. Now, let's assume something here. Let's assume that this cost is too high, and that what the client has done is given us a total budget inclusive of costs of $3,000 per incorporation, and that the firm agreed to take this work on perhaps as a loss leader, okay, but we agreed to do this work for a not to exceed price of $3,000 per incorporation in each state, inclusive of the cost of the matter. So the challenge we have now is how do we get this cost down where it meets the client's value proposition of $1,000 a month? And maybe a good place to start is, how did we get to that number to begin with? Okay, well, let's go up and look at something. We're going to go to the resource sheet, and we're going to go to the senior partner thing here. And I want you to notice something that's kind of interesting about the senior partner level. The first thing I want you to notice is there are different rates that are assigned here. There's a rate A, B, C, D, and E, okay? And in this particular case, the A rate, which is the premium rate, is $500 an hour. And if you look at this, if we go to the custom fields and to the notes, here's how we came up with this. Normal rate A is $500 an hour. Normal rate B is $400. Rate C, which is 40% off the rate A, is $300, etc. Now, the one you got to keep an eye out for whenever you're doing estimating is this number right here. I use rate E to indicate what I call the fully loaded employee cost for this particular resource, human resource. That means that the fully loaded cost is the entire cost of that employee's compensation, inclusive of W-2 wages, bonuses. If it's a lawyer, you include in that their prorated portion of errors and omissions insurance, premises costs, law library expenses, 401k matching contributions, continuing legal education. That's your fully loaded employee cost per hour based upon that person. Why is that important? Because if you create a project and you can't make at least that much money, you're losing money on the pricing. It's what Bruce McEwen of Adam Smith Esquire, probably one of the premier law firm consultants in the country, calls suicide pricing. And a lot of firms are doing this because they don't know what this number is. And in the firms that do this, the persons who know that are called pricing partners. See, they have all the information behind the curtain, so they know what they can do and not do if they're going to be able to pay their bills and not go in the red every month from doing that. So I want to show that to you because it's important for how you can make these things pencil out and work. So let's go back here and figure out, well, how are we going to get to $3,000 if we're already over allocated? Well, let's take a look at a couple of things here. First, let's go up to the planning and budget and cost planning item up here in the top left that you can see, this item right here. Now, by the way, these views here that say 1 through 11 and A through G right there, these are not views that come with the native Microsoft project software. These are the add-on value-added things that are created by Sensei Project Solutions. So this is all aftermarket stuff, but it's very helpful. So here's what I want to show you. If we go there and we look at the budgets, the first thing I want you to see is that we have what's called budgeted amounts here. So you can notice that we've tied in budgets for this particular project that correspond to the Uniform Task-Based Management codes right here. So what we've done then is we've given line items here. Now we're doing a very, very simple legal project consisting of a incorporation, but imagine what these budgeted items would be if you had, for example, e-discovery costs that included a collection, processing of data, hosting on a relativity platform. You could actually break down your budgeted costs for this entire case from a top level point of view. And then once you've done the top level budget estimating, you can then go to this number, which is what your actual bottoms up cost is as determined by the people in the field who are going to do the work. That probably is worth a quick explanation for those of you unfamiliar with the notion of top-down estimating and bottoms-up estimating. So let me give you an example of both so you understand this, because what you're seeing on the screen right now is both. If I am general counsel for a company and I have an annual budget of $10 million a year and I have operations in 10 states, and my historic costs for labor and employment problems has been, for example, $1 million a year on average, and here I am coming up, I'm doing my budget for the next year, I'm allocating $1 million out of my $10 million budget, and I'm going to go hire some law firm. It might be an AmLaw 200 firm, it might be a specialty firm that does employment law like Jackson Lewis, Littler Mendelson, or Ogletree Deakins. You know, say I'm going to go to one of these boutique firms and I'm going to say, I want you to handle all of my employment matters nationwide this year for a flat fee of $1 million. That's called a top-down budget estimate. It's kind of a guess because you don't know how many matters you're going to get. You just know that that's what I've got to make pencil out, or I'm going to get fired at the end of the year if I go over budget, kind of a thing. Now, let's suppose then that after that top-down estimate is done, we get in the next year 18 different employment cases in 12 different states. Well, each one of those is going to generate a project plan based upon a template, kind of like we have here. And the individual budget items might be different. But when we actually do the bottoms-up estimate here, we're going to end up with a cost like this right here for each one of those cases, which may or may not correspond to the budgeted cost. Some will be higher. You might settle them right out of the starting gate, or some will be lower than what's estimated because you settle the case quickly, but some may be higher. Maybe you don't get past you get past the EEOC and the person actually files a federal court discrimination claim or something like that. So this is how this begins to relate. But the important thing here is that you can see that you can track and monitor both. And we know now that these two numbers are pretty far off. So how are we going to bring the cost, the actual cost from the bottoms up plan into alignment here for this? Well, there's a few different ways that we can do that within Microsoft Project. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and I'm going to get rid of a couple of these tasks. Now, I'll show you something that's kind of interesting here. If you go over to the outline view and you collapse the outline on this particular thing, here are all of the phases of the case that you're going through. Okay, you've got to do the new incorporation worksheet, you've got to reserve the corporate name, etc. So these particular items right here, these are kind of the phases of what you're going to be doing in the case. And then underneath these summary tasks, that's what they're called, are other summary tasks. And finally, you'll get down to what's known as a work package, which is the smallest individual increment of work that you can have in a project matter. So I wanted to show that to you because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and hide the project summary task and the summary task so that all that you see over here is just the actual work that has to be done. How did I come up with that work? Well, I just tediously sat down and created a template using Project Scope. I just went through and said, here's all the work we got to do. and so forth. That's what a work breakdown structure is. And then after I did the work breakdown structure, we went through and assigned for each individual task. We assigned who was going to do it and what cost elements would be assigned to it, etc. So this is how we go about building these different tasks. Then we assign dependencies. What work has to be done first logically. Now, some of you at this point are probably thinking, oh, this is great, but it's like an old-fashioned waterfall project. True. But if I wanted to, I could have done this in an agile environment. If I wanted to use Scrum project management, I could even use Kanban boards or Kanban boards to show the work in a different way. So everything I'm showing you here would apply whether you're using an agile methodology or a more traditional step-down waterfall methodology. So just be aware of that as we're going through this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the task thing here. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to hide the project summary tasks. And we'll go down to the summary here. And what I want to do now is I want to change who's going to do this work. Now, one way that I can fix this cost overrun is to say, well, I've assigned a paralegal here. So let's take a look at this. You'll notice on the right here that the person who's assigned to do most of the work on this incorporation is a senior paralegal. Well, that senior paralegal charges a premium rate A of $200 an hour, which is too much. That's why we're at $4,300 instead of $3,000. So one way that I could fix this problem is I could take the work that was scheduled to be done by the senior paralegal at $200 an hour, and I could simply replace that paralegal with a legal assistant that bills at a lesser hourly rate. So let's just do that real quick and see what happens, and if we can now, by making that resource change, remember, we're going to align scope, schedule, cost, quality, risks, and issues, and resources to make the aligned project synchronous with the client's value proposition. That's the whole purpose of legal project management and the exercise. So if I go here and we say, great, let's take the paralegal and replace the paralegal with the legal assistant and say, okay, now let's see what this does to the amount of money that we're trying to do this matter for. We're trying to get it from $4,000 and we're going to try to get it down to around $3,000. Well, when we do that, and we go to the summary of this, and then we scoot up to the top here. It should be, oh, hold on one second here. I'm in the wrong dependencies category. We'll go to Gantt chart. And then we'll go over here to summary task. So now notice, see up here, we're down below $3,000. So if we're able to use the legal assistant instead of the senior paralegal, that's one way that we might fix this problem, okay? But having shown you how to do that, let's assume that this is our first work we're doing for this client and we can't screw it up. We can't have a rookie on the team handling this thing. You never get a second chance to make a good first impression. So what we're going to do then is, instead of this, I'm going to go up here to the top left corner and I'm going to undo everything I did. Now notice over here, for example, on the right side, right over here, you've got legal assistant. Watch what happens when I go up here and I just undo all of those changes I just did. And I just keep hitting the undo bar, the undo bar, the undo bar. And now I'm back to paralegal. Do you see that? So when I go back here now to the Gantt chart and change the view to Gantt chart, and then I go back and I trip the project matter and the summary task, now I'm back to the $4,000 amount. So we fixed the problem, but we didn't really, because we can't use the legal assistant instead of the paralegal. So what can we do? Well, what we can do is change the resources rate. So let's do that. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm now going to assign the resources. And the thing I want you to notice here, if you look over on the right side here, so far, The only things that have been assigned here are what's called generic resources. Do you notice out over here, there's not a common noun. There's just this category: senior partner, associate attorney, legal assistant, junior paralegal, senior paralegal, process server. These don't have the names John Doe, Sam Smith, whatever else. They're generic resources. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to swap out these generic resources and actually replace them with named individuals. And since the big person here is the senior paralegal, let's assign it to the new paralegal Alexis Projects and do a replace, and watch what happens when I do that. The senior paralegal will go away and Alexis Projects' name will go there instead. So here's Alexis Projects, and then let's go and find the senior partner attorney. Come over here, we'll put in my name, we'll replace that there. Okay, so now what we've done here, and you can see it, here's Mark Lassiter and here's Alexis Projects. So now this has been done, and we have work that we're ready to assign to those people, but we still have this problem that it's $4,300. How do we fix that? Well, the way that we fix that is we go to the resource usage page and we find the work and activity that are being done by Mark and Alexis. So here's Alexis, and here's all the work she's doing, and here's Mark, and here's all the work he's doing. But Mark is at $500 an hour at the default rate. How do I know that? Because if I go and I insert the column that says cost rate table, and I put it in, do you notice here how that all of these things here say rate table A? Well, A is my most expensive rate. So the only thing this is going to pencil out is if we go up here and we do a global search and replace just like you would do in a Microsoft Word document, okay? You simply go up here and you do find and replace, and you substitute the A rate that's right there, and you replace it with, in this case, I'm going to put a C rate, and let's replace it all. It's going to tell me that I have 90 different replacements that were made on that. And then let's see what happens now when we go back and we check to see, well, now that I've changed the rate that Mark Lassiter and Alexis Projects are doing, how are we doing? Well, pretty close. We're not quite there yet. We're at 3,100 and we got to get it below 3,000, but I think I have a fix for that. What we're going to do again is go back to the view, go to resource usage, go back to Mark Lassiter. And what we're going to do this time is we're just going to change Mark's exorbitant hourly rate because he's a lawyer. And we're going to just replace the C rate that Mark had with the D rate. And we're only going to do that for the first 3 items here. And we'll close that out. Now we'll go back here, go back to the Gantt chart view. And there we go. See that? We're at $2,999. So now we know that this project is resourced, priced, costed, etc., to fit the client's budget. So let's finalize it and get to work. How are we going to do that? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the view and I'm going to check the resource sheet, and I want to make sure that the resources Mark and Alexis are actually committed to this project. Now you'll notice here it just says proposed, so I'm going to change that to committed. So there you have it. So now Mark and Alexis are committed. Now what about these other generic resources, the process server, the consultant? Well, we haven't picked the process server yet, and we haven't picked the consultant yet. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because I can always come in here later on and change it, but I don't know who they are right now. But I do know that my paralegal and me are going to do the rest of this work. So from there, what I'm going to do is go to the project tab, and I'm going to set the project information. And I'm going to do this project. Now today is of course September 20th, 2018, but I'm going to go back just for the fun of it and set this project on June 4th, okay? Because that way you'll be able to see this thing come in on time and budget when I show you how to track and monitor this in a bit. So we're going to set it there. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to start calculating the utilization, not from the project plan, but from the actual resource engagements right now. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to save this, Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you in project is notice here that I'm double checking that this is assigned to the legal department of my law firm, not to the IT department or the marketing firm or anything like that. So we're good when we're with legal right there. So we've got this thing finalized. We're ready to assign the work. I'm going to come back here and show you one last thing before we go, just so you can kind of see this importantly before we publish. And that is, if we start doing the work here, you'll notice on the right side we now have a Gantt chart. And notice it's going to assign my work to begin on June 3rd, etc. And then we're going to see this progressive delineation of work here. Now, what if I really wanted to get a big picture view and have a meeting with the client and talk about that? I just go back to the view. First thing I'll do real quick here, I'm going to get rid of the project and summary task for a moment. I'm going to go back to view and I'm going to say, show me the network diagram. And then this network diagram will now show me an activity on node for the entire project. And I can actually go through, print this out on butcher block paper, for example, have a meeting in the conference room, talk about this in big picture terms. You'll notice the red here is the critical path that's going on. So you have lots of opportunities within this environment to make all of this stuff kind of pencil out and work, and to see and express it in different types of reports and presentations as well. So we are now back to the project and we're ready to push the work out. Now remember I told you Alexis doesn't have anything on her mobile phone yet, right? And similarly, Alexis doesn't have any tasks on her web app yet, okay? So let's see what happens to Alexis and to Mark when we now go to File and we publish this. Now, what does it mean to publish this? It means I'm going to take all of the individual incremental work assignments, and when I hit publish, it's going to automatically push those assignments out into the cloud, into the individual inboxes of the work team anywhere in the world. So you could have a legal process outsourcing team in India that's working on this while you're asleep at night in New York, and when you come in the next day, they will have reported in real time how much they got through the document review or whatever else. So let's hit publish, and I want you to watch the bottom right corner of my screen. Do you see in the bottom right corner it says publish right there in the bottom right? So when that's done, it's going to come back and report the publish as being complete. Still working on it right now. And in the meantime, what I want to show you is right here. What do we have? This just came in right now. And this is my new work assignments that were just pushed out to me from this project in my inbox. And here it is. So we have the new Florida urgent care formation work. It just got emailed to me to apprise me of new work assignments that have been given to me in this matter. That would happen whether I was a paralegal, a law clerk, an associate attorney, a document review attorney, e-discovery vendor, whatever else. So that's what's been going on there. Now, what about what's going on with Alexis here? Well, we don't see anything, but that's because I haven't refreshed my screen yet. So let's hit F5 and see what happens when I do that. Well, look at that. All of these assignments, the first assignments that I've given to Alexis, all now just got reported right here. And if Alexis wants to see what's on deck for her to do in the current period, she just opens this up and starts to go and look at it. She'll see who's assigned the work, what resources are assigned to it, who's on the team. If she wants to add notes about things that she's encountering, like, oh, I tried to reserve the name, but it was already taken, she can put those notes in here in real time and they will attach to the project. She can identify risks and issues directly from here, etc. So that's what's happened there. Now let's try something different here. We're back here to this current task. Well, there's no current task available. I'm going to exit out of this program and let's restart it now and see what happens when I restart the Sensei Project Online thing. Well, now it's doing something for the current tasks. What's it going to do? Well, let's see. There we have it. The brand new Florida Urgent Care Subsidiary Formation is now on her mobile phone. And if she wants to do the work and then from the mobile phone update what's going on, she's able to do that. Okay, so you can see now this is how it works. And notice that we've got work that's assigned in the current period. That's in the next 2 weeks. But since this keeps and tracks and monitors work across all of the organization for all of the projects, billable or non-billable, all of the work would actually show up here. Now, because she's new and I just did this first work assignment here, you don't see the other projects that may be assigned to her in the next week or two. But if we had such assignments, they would all be right here. The nice thing is this: you can go here and this is already sorted for you what work you need to be focusing on right now. You know, it's the 52 card pickup that every associate and paralegal in a firm has. They've got 3 different partners giving them work and they're like, what do I have to do first? When? How do I do this? This sorts it out all for you and puts it into a place where you can actually see the work and keep on task with what you need to be doing. It's what Stephen Covey would call the most important thing now. We got to do the most important thing now, and the project online will automatically sort this for you. So what do we do then? I'm going to exit out of here for a moment, and I want to go back into the project. Well, now, how do we track and monitor what's going on with this project? So let's assume that I'm back as the project manager in this case again, and I want to track and monitor what's going on with this. Well, I can go to the project status page and notice here, oh, I need to do one other thing first here. So what I'm going to do right now is go back to the Gantt chart, and I'm going to update the information that's on here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to the project tab. I'm going to make the status date today. I'm going to update the status date, and then I'm going to go back to tasks. I'm going to select all of the tasks here. Remember, I picked the June 4th start date right here because this project was scheduled to be finished 2 days ago based on that date. So let's assume now that all of the work has been done correctly, okay? The way I'm going to do this now is I'm going to go to the tab thing and I'm going to mark on track. Everything's 100%. There's a few items that are 99%. I'll explain those in a minute. I'm going to save this. And now when I go to the view that says, what's the project status? It ought to be, oh, it's because I have to publish this. Give me one more second here. I'll publish again. And when I publish, it will report all of those activities as being complete. If you look in the bottom right corner, we're at 7% complete right now. It's still pushing out all of the activities which have now been completed. Notice that I'll mark them on track as if they'd all been done perfectly with no errors, glitches, delays, extensions, cost overruns, etc. That's what you do when you get a 1-hour webinar. But if we were actually had overruns and these were being done, you know, along the way kind of a thing, you'd see a very different kind of a result with that. But the significance here is you'll notice that there's these cost, health, key performance indicators, and that they're offered on a per line item task basis in this project. And so the dashboard that you're used to seeing at the project center can actually be replicated in the project thing itself. And that is going to be able to bring you back to where you need to be when you're looking at the health of this project. So I'm not sure why that's not populating. I must have screwed something up here. I did that this morning. But anyway, the benefit of having this kind of a thing and tracking these costs and whatnot is that it's going to be able to, yeah, I'm not sure why that isn't populating. Anyway, be that as it may. Gosh, there's always one thing that comes up as a glitch in doing these. But the point is that if we go back to the project center now, and we look at what's going on here, and we hit the F5 button, and it refreshes the screen here, what we're going to see is that those white dots, once the screen refreshes, are going to go away. And when the white dots go away, the Florida thing should be updated here. For some reason, that's not updating. Hate it when that happens. But as we have the activities here that are shown to be on budget, on schedule, etc., that is how these things track and monitor and report in real time. So with this, I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm bothered that I can't figure out that activity and why that's not showing up. But anyway, does anyone right now have any questions about anything at all that we have discussed or been talking about here? Deidre, what do we have to do to open up the question and answer thing? Or you can submit your question and answer online if you would like to do that as well.
Yeah, there is a question area where you can submit questions. We did have one during this session in regards to whether this is being recorded, and I did let everybody know it is being recorded. We will send out a follow-up email containing the link to register to view the recording, but we'll leave it open here for a couple minutes to see if anyone has any additional questions.
It's driving me crazy. Did you see something that I neglected to do here, Deidre, for the reason that it's not updating the dashboard activities? I can't figure that out because we marked everything as having been done. So I'm not sure why that's
that. It may just be taking a few minutes to refresh and catch up.
Yeah, it could. It just drives me crazy that it's not there. So
I don't see any questions coming in, although anyone that has additional questions can always feel free to respond to the follow-up email. But we can stay here a couple more minutes just in case any come through.
Well, hearing no questions, I thank you guys for attending today. I hope you found this interesting and a way to use and track and monitor legal matters using Microsoft Project Online. If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me. My website is lexprojects, lexprojects.com, and that has my phone number and a way you can get in touch with me if you'd like to. So anyway, thanks you all for taking the time to watch, and we would appreciate your constructive criticism and suggestions for how to make this a better program in the future. So make sure to drop us a note or send us something with your thoughts on that. Thank you very much, and we are, as we say in arbitrations, adjourned. Thank you.